Hi, my name is Dr. Elinor Robin. I'm a divorce mediator in Boca Raton, Florida, and I am here to tell you that even though divorce is probably the most difficult transition of an adult life, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You can move through the transition of divorce and rebuild the life that you want to live on the other side. This videotape is the first videotape in a series of 3 videotapes in which I'll explain some of the ins and outs, the important aspects, the things you really want to know so that you can move through the tunnel of divorce and get to the light at the other side. Let me begin by telling you that basically there are 6 aspects to any divorce, 6 aspects to this transition. The first one is a physical aspect, and that physical aspect says there's a family that lives together in one house, and now they're going to separate into 2 houses. There's going to be a physical separation. And that physical separation involves a lot of components. Maybe somebody was just used to having somebody else there in the physical environment with them, and now that physical environment is going to be markedly different, even for the person who remains in the house. For the person who leaves the house, the marital home, the physical environment is of course going to be totally different. And moving alone is difficult, so moving through the transition of divorce is even more difficult. Then there's a psychological component to divorce, and this is of course huge. When we go through life, especially as Jews, seeing ourselves as married and then single is a major identity shift. It's a major transition. In this society, we have more, not sure what the word is, we have more privilege being married than single. So often moving from married to single takes us down a notch, and that going down a notch makes the transition of divorce difficult. Socially, divorce brings about a complete restructuring. Someone's social life has to be restructured as a result of divorce. And often those people that were part of our social support system now push us out at the time we need them the most during divorce. Often our friends and extended family relatives, they may not understand that they can remain friend to both the husband and the wife. They feel that they have to choose one or the other, and that makes the transition more difficult. Of course, there's a huge financial aspect to a divorce. A husband and a wife live in a house. They earn X dollars every month. Now they have the same X dollars coming in, but now they have to support 2 households with that same income. So there's many financial details between them that have to be worked out, sorted out. One of them may have pieces of financial information that the other one doesn't have. And even if they both have the information, there may not be enough money to go around. There is a logistical aspect to divorce. There's the logistics of being in a different house, but there's also the logistics of the stuff. If you're used to having a TV and now that TV is gone, you have to kind of move things around in your environment to set yourself up. We once had a client who had a big slate pool table, and he loved the slate pool table. He enjoyed it. It was one of the things that probably could have made his transition a little easier because he could have used the slate pool table as part of his social support system. But when he got divorced, his wife remained in the house, and he moved into a 2nd floor condo. There's no way you can get a slate pool table into an elevator or up a flight of stairs or around the corners into a 2nd floor condo. The logistics of his divorce, driving his kids back and forth to school, those logistics were bad enough. He had the additional logistics of his slate pool table, an item he wanted and couldn't have. In many ways, he mourned the pool table the same way he had to mourn the loss of his marriage. The final aspect of divorce is the legal aspect. And sometimes somebody thinks that if I just get a legal divorce, I'm going to be okay. If I get rid of him, her, in a legal proceeding, the divorce is going to be over. And in fact, that's not the way. Because the legal divorce has to happen. You need a judge to say you're legally divorced. But the legal aspect of divorce is just one aspect. People going through divorce still need to go through a physical divorce, a psychological divorce, a social divorce, a financial divorce, a logistical divorce, and a legal divorce. So, what are the phases of these divorces? Simply put, the first phase is pre-divorce. And often, one spouse is in pre-divorce long before the other one gets there. Unfortunately, sometimes people are in pre-divorce even before they get married. They know, I'm getting married, I'm hopeful things will be okay, but I know that if they're not, we can always get divorced. It doesn't do much for building the strong foundation that a marriage needs. Sometimes people are over here. They're sort of in resignation marriage. I'm resigned, it's good enough, it is what it is, and you have one in resignation marriage and one living in pre-divorce. Something happens. One of them moves from pre-divorce over here into restructuring. And that restructuring process is when a husband and a wife have to look at all these aspects of their lives and figure out, how do I want to restructure the physical, the psychological, the social, the financial, the logistical, and the legal aspects of my life? Often, one of them is in pre-divorce or resignation marriage, and the other one has already moved on into restructuring, and so there's conflict that's created by the fact that they're in different places. Ultimately, when all these aspects can be restructured, then a man and a woman who are towards the end of the transition of divorce move into the phase called rebuilding. And what happens in rebuilding? In rebuilding, each of them individually rebuilds his and her physical life, psychological life, social life, financial life, logistical life, and the legal documents. You could say the rebuilding of a legal life might be the changing of one's name or other pieces, but there clearly has to be a rebuilding. If we can't get men and women into the rebuilding phase, unfortunately, sometimes we lose people into the tunnel of divorce. There are some people who never make it through to the other side because they don't know that the light is there waiting for them. I'm here to tell you there is. Please stay tuned. Take a look at the other videos in this series, and I wish you well. If you have any questions, you can always contact me through my website, www.afriendlydivorce.com.